Welcome to episode 606 of Salsidoparanormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I will be sharing true paranormal stories from the web. As always, you can find all episodes of the show, along with links to social media and other ways to contact me at the podcast page. And that is salsidoparanormal.podbean.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.podbean.com. Always happy to hear from you all, whether you have comments or questions or topic suggestions, or accounts of paranormal experiences, whether they're your own or from others that you trust. Happy to either read those or have you join me on the show to talk about them. Thank you all for listening, whether you are here for the live streams on Discord, or if you listen to the podcast or YouTube feeds, or on the Troubled Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting. There you can hear replays of 2 episodes of the show every night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, right before Troubled Minds Radio comes on. And as always, I want to thank Michael Strange, host of Troubled Minds Radio, for having me on the network and putting all my shows up there. If you'd like to support the show, there are some different ways to do that. You can always share the show with others and rate and review it on your favorite podcast platform. You can find books I've written over on Amazon, paranormal fiction and nonfiction, and including one that will be coming out as soon as possible. I will let you all know when that happens. That is tied directly to the podcast. It has most of my experiences, along with several of these kinds of accounts, these true paranormal stories from the web, that I shared some time ago in the show over the course of the last couple of years. You can also just sign up. There we go. I gotta get the order right here. Sign up for the Patreon page and get 2 extra episodes every week of true paranormal stories from the web. That's for all paid membership tier levels there. Or you can just make one-time donations through PayPal. Support is never expected, but always appreciated, as there are expenses in making these shows, from equipment to research materials to travel expenses in some cases. I think that covers everything, so we'll get back to these true accounts of paranormal experiences here. And so let's see. Get back to the document and go from there. And okay, here we go. This one says, for the last few years, I have had encounters with a strange, solid black dog, similar to an Irish wolfhound. The black dog appears to be solid and physical, trotting down hallways or entering rooms. However, the dog then disappears into walls or corners. These encounters happen while I am fully awake and going about normal activities. The sightings have happened in multiple locations, approximately 6 times over the last 8 years. The most recent incident was last night while I was doing dishes. I saw the black dog going down the basement stairs. I yelled at it, thinking it was my own dog, but then found my real dog sleeping elsewhere. What do you all think about this? Has anyone else had experiences with a similar apparition? And that's where that one ends. I have heard of ghost animals, of course. I mean, and even sort of the idea of a more negative or ominous aspect of like a hellhound. But this just sounds like like the spirit or ghost of a dog or some non-physical entity, even though it can appear physical, taking on that appearance. Doesn't sound like anything. It's ever anything threatening. It's not like this apparition ever comes toward the person. Apparently, I wonder if it's some kind of a guardian aspect. I don't know, but just the way it's always sort of there at different times, it does seem like if it's in separate locations, then it's not tied to one. So maybe it is connected to the person somehow. I don't know. But I thought that was unique. A lot of times, if you hear about sort of, at least from what I've read and heard over the years, a lot of dog apparitions, unless they're tied to historic sites and with a lot of folklore surrounding them, a lot of times they are more often it seems the the pets, the spirits of people's pets that have passed on. And you'll hear those apparitions and those kinds of encounters. I haven't heard too many accounts of just a dog that appears to just be a dog, but that is also not physical, that can pass through walls and everything like that. That does not have any obvious connection to the person having the experience. So I thought this was a sort of a unique one, possibly, or at least less common. And that's why I wanted to share. I always tend to lean towards reports of ghost cats because I'm a cat person. But this one was odd enough to me to make it into the show. So yes, I am biased. I am sorry, but also not sorry. But yeah, sorry about that. But so anyway, but yeah, that's a neat one there, and hopefully it's just some kind of a guardian entity looking out for the person, keeping watch for who knows whatever else is going on. So yeah, I don't know, but that's a neat one there. Moving on to the next one. Let's see here. Okay. This one says, I was at my parents' house, lying in bed, facing the wall, in complete darkness. I was about to fall asleep when I felt a hand tap my shoulder as I lay on my side. I did not hear the door open or close before feeling the tap. The experience was freaky and I was petrified. Since this happened, I have not noticed anything else out of the ordinary. I'm not sure if it could have been a family member tapping me, since I didn't hear anyone enter or exit. If you all have any thoughts on what happened or similar experiences, I would love to hear them. And that's of course a report on a website. But that is, I don't know, it sounds like maybe someone was trying to get their attention, but just one time. And I wonder if they didn't intend to frighten the person and they realized it and they stopped. And that's why there was nothing else before or after. Sounds like the person tried to rule out it being a living person coming and tapping on their shoulder. And I mean, you would think if it's in a quiet room, you would hear someone coming and going. So I don't know with that one, but that sounds like someone was trying to get their attention, and maybe they finally succeeded. Yeah, but then they were, who knows? Maybe the whole point was just getting the attention and sort of doing that one thing, and then that was all they needed to do. I don't know, but yeah, it's odd that it was just that one experience that person ever had, and then nothing else if that's the case. So, and there are one-offs like that. You do hear about that in some of these kinds of, when you just kind of do this kind of research into all these reports. There are people that have like one experience that they can't explain in their entire life, and it's amazing to me because I'm well past that. Not that I have experiences every day. That's a whole other level of all this. I've talked about this before. It's amazing to me, the levels of all this, where you have people that haven't had any experiences as far as they can tell, or as far as they will admit anyway. And then you have people that have had one or maybe two experiences throughout their entire life. Then you have people like me that have had many, but over many years. But I can still sit there and take a good 4 to 6 hours retelling all my experiences to anyone that want to listen to that much of me talking. But then beyond that, there's people that have encounters and are sensitive enough to pick up on anomalous things all day, every day. And so it really is, there's a range of all this. But yeah, so again, I don't know what that was about, but sounds like the person tried to reason everything out and did what they could with it, but it's hard to explain that one thing when there's nothing else to go on with it for them or for anyone else, really. So, moving on to the next one here. Let's see here. All right. So this one says, my best friend and I used to explore a fenced-off graveyard in the middle of our neighborhood when we were younger. Years later, one night around 11 p.m., my dad and I were visiting my best friend's house after a baseball game. As we got out of the car, we noticed a little girl in an old-fashioned white gown standing by a tree in the yard, staring at us. Despite calling out to her, the girl didn't respond. And when we went inside, we found out none of the neighbors had a young daughter. When we went back outside, the little girl had vanished. A few years later, my best friend's mom told my dad that she had a strange conversation with a neighbor about the graveyard. Let's see here. Okay, I lost my spot. There it is. The neighbor mentioned that one of the families buried in the graveyard had a young daughter buried there as well, matching the description of the girl my dad and I saw. The unexplained sighting of the little girl in the old-fashioned gown still gives me the creeps today. And that's where that one ends. It sounds like there was definitely two people that saw the same thing. And yeah, it's possible that it was that same little girl in that white dress. I wonder if it was a residual, and that's why she didn't pay any attention to the writer and their father. It's hard to say, but yeah, I always wondered. That's a whole. I think I've done shows on cemeteries and graveyards before, a couple of years ago now. But and of course, every so often they pop up in these shows, these true paranormal stories from the web shows. Sometimes they're ominous. Sometimes they're peaceful. It seems like there's just a whole range of energies, and it just depends on the one you go to and possibly when you go there as to what's going on in and around the area where it's at. So I don't think there's any one way that energy acts in all burial sites or cemeteries or graveyards, because there's just too many varied experiences, that I've come across in doing these shows. So, moving on to the next one here. And this one says, last July at around 2:05 a.m., I was approaching a three-way intersection on a dark night. I saw a blurry, translucent figure about 7 feet tall crossing the quiet street, moving steadily from right to left. The figure's outline was indistinct and distorted, appearing translucent against the dark background. As I approached the intersection, my car's headlights illuminated what initially seemed to like the bottom half of a person. I turned on the bright headlights, revealing the figure to be about 7 feet tall and not more than 3 feet wide, reaching 3/4 of the height of a nearby 10-foot street sign. The sighting lasted no more than 15 seconds before the figure disappeared into the shadows on the opposite side of the street in a partially wooded, partially cleared, grassy area. I made a left turn and continued nearly in the same direction as the figure, but it had vanished. During the 15 to 20-second encounter, I never stopped or slowed down below 15 miles per hour. The figure was moving slightly more north to northwest while I was traveling directly west. I drove another half a mile in utter disbelief before arriving home after witnessing the unexplained tall figure. And that's where that one ends. Sounds like a sighting of who knows what exactly with that height. 7 feet is not impossible for a person, of course, but it is, I think, rare. Safe to say that. So was it a spirit? Was it possibly, if there was no features, that could have been any number of things, really. Just a figure of possibly energy or light. And yeah, I don't know with that one, but that's sounds like they're moving fairly quickly too, for it to be gone that quickly. But yeah, it's amazing how many encounters with the unexplained people have while they're driving. That could be a whole probably series of shows in and of itself, but on roads and streets and all those things, a lot of times people maybe who don't look into all these things or have experiences think of odd things happening in haunted houses and old looking houses, or maybe hospitals or hotels or whatever, if they think about that at all. But really, it's amazing how things that we can't explain, they happen like pretty much everywhere. Any kind of setting you want to imagine, it seems like that there's a possibility of something happening there. So yeah, that's a neat one there. Another one of those had a the last episode had someone else had a sighting of a green orb that was the size of a bowling ball. So that was while they were driving. So yeah, it's anyway, that just sort of hit me there as I was talking about it. But moving on to the next one here. And let's see here. Okay, this one says, I was quietly sitting in my living room with my two dogs napping, one on the couch and one on my lap, while my third dog was out front. I live in a secluded area or house in the woods with a gated driveway and an additional gate to the front yard that is always kept closed to contain the dogs. While I was very still and quiet with the dogs asleep, I was jolted by 5 very loud, rapid knocks that startled me. Despite the loud knocks, none of the dogs reacted or woke up, which was odd. My 16 and 13-year-old kids were home, but in their own rooms on the other side of the house, making it unlikely they could have knocked and returned without my knowledge. When I checked through the peephole in the door, I saw nothing except my big outside dog napping in the yard. The family has experienced paranormal activity with cabinets and drawers opening since we moved into the house 6 years ago. My daughter has felt like someone is watching her from her closet, and my son has also sensed things. This incident was unique in that I was the only one who experienced it, despite being isolated with the dogs at the time. And that's where that one ends. Sounds like they have an active house wherever they're at. I wonder if the fact that the dogs didn't react is sort of a good sign, as in they didn't feel threatened at all, or if it's just because they were asleep. But then again, the third dog was outside and well, no, it did say it was napping. So the three dogs were asleep. So it's possible that, but usually if it's a loud enough sound, it's going to wake them up. But again, who knows how all that works? There's plenty of accounts of people having experiences where you can have two or three people in the same space and there'll be a sound that only part of the group will hear. Same with sightings. There'll be times where there'll be multiple people in a space and only some of the people there will see anything strange, and sometimes they'll see different things. So that's not totally uncommon for reactions from, I mean, even though there's dogs, they're still living creatures, so it's not uncommon for paranormal activity to register with some people and some living beings, and not all of them that are there in a space. So yeah, that's odd. I feel like sometimes when I have experiences here in my home, sometimes Logan, my cat, will react to them. Other times, not so much. And so I wonder if it's again, is she not sensing them, or is she sensing them and doesn't feel that they're important, so it doesn't pay much attention to them? If only we could talk to or communicate easily with animals, that would probably reveal quite a bit of things that we have no idea about right now. But so yeah, I guess I'll leave it there with the stories this time. So yeah, that's a lot of animals in this last couple episodes here tonight too. Just different reactions and even sightings of ghost animals and things like that too. So definitely an important aspect of all this. And yeah, thank you all again for listening. And please be sure to follow everyone whose links I share in all the episode descriptions. Check out their own projects, their own shows. Please check out the website for Trouble Minds Radio, as there are links to the other shows that are on the network. And of course, you can listen there right on the webpage and listen all day, 24/7, and catch shows from all those people and all the great shows there. And you never know exactly what you're going to get all day, because it's last I heard anyway, there's still a lot of, it's randomized. And so we all sort of appear on the network at different times throughout the day, except for the regular times that are listed there on the website. But so yeah, always great stuff there to listen to. And then you can check out the individual shows through the links there as well, in podcast form or video form in some cases. And so yeah, please check out the links. And for everyone that has supported the show. And yeah, really excited about the new book. It should be coming out hopefully soon. Just really excited about that. And hopefully it's going to be the first in a series of books. I'm going to start sort of sifting through all the accounts and experiences and making books with themes and all that in the future. So that's the plan for that series of books. Thank you all for listening, and I'll talk to you on the next episode of Salsidoparanormal. Take care.